What is up, everybody? Chris Flick here, Chris Flick Podcast, episode number 132. My voice, I lost it this week, man. So if you can't hear me too well, I apologize for that. But today I'm going to share a story I had with a young kid. It was a little bit alarming. I didn't know what to do. I was talking to another mom at the time, and she's a teacher, and I was like, man, this kid just told me something. She was like, she's like, you hear something like that in high school, it's automatic report, but when it comes from a little kid, it's always like, you never know what the right course of action is. And I still don't know what the right course of action is. So let me lay this out for you, and if you got any advice for me, feel free to bring it on. I'm at my daughter's gymnastics. I'm talking to a few other parents. We're all kind of hanging out by the window. I like to make sure I'm paying attention to what's going on in there, just because if Emmy's like, hey, did you see the backwards roll? I want to be able to say yes without, being dishonest. So I try to watch as much as I can. I try to talk to her about it after the fact. Tell her, hey, I saw you hanging from the bar for, however long you were up there. Or I saw that new drill you guys did. So as this is going on, an 8-year-old squirms his way in between all the adults, gets in between us, and starts talking. Now, I take the bait, man. I start conversating with this kid. I learned he's 8 years old. I learned his 6-year-old sister's in there. She's doing gymnastics. He points her out a bunch. He seems to be a proud brother. I start asking him questions. I'm like, hey, do you do gymnastics? He was like, no. Oh yeah, do you ever try to do a forward roll? No. I do the swimming. Okay. I go down the slide, I get wristbands, I get to do all this cool, fun stuff in there. I really like the swim program. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Then he starts talking about other stuff he likes, video games. Did you ever play Minecraft? I'm like, I don't really know what that game is. And he's like, you don't? He's like, I also play these killing games. I'm like, really? He's like, so I'm like, why do you play those games? He's 8. And I'm like, why do you play that? And he's like, I just want to see what it's like to kill somebody. And I was like, what? Really? I was like, why do you want to see that? He's like, well, it's not real people. It's a video game. And I was like, all right, man. I was like, it still sounds a little crazy to me. But that's kind of where the conversation ended. I was a little bit taken aback. He said, I just want to see what it's like to kill somebody. And I think to myself, what the heck do I do about that kind of information that I just got? Now this kid had something where he was very social. He was constantly moving. He was going back and forth. The kid's brain was on overdrive, man. It looked like there was a lot of stuff going on in his head. So we kind of continued to talk a little bit, and his mom ended up coming over, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, he's a chatty boy. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good. I'll talk to him. Kid wants to talk, I'll listen, I'll talk, whatever. Now, it's got me thinking, right? There's that saying, you are what you consume. You are what you eat, right? You are what you consume. You become the people who you surround yourself with. All the people in the self-help world, they're like, surround yourself with good, positive people. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? If you have a bunch of uplifting people around you, they're going to lift you up too, right? That's how that thought goes. The inverse of that is also true. If you consume nothing but negative, terrible behavior, maybe what goes on in the news these days, right? Terrible story, world's coming to an end, crisis after crisis after crisis. That's going to affect your mood, and it's going to affect your well-being. And I think we've seen that over the years here where, people are at home consuming certain things more and more because kind of the world was shut down for a bit. Kids are playing more video games, parents watch more news, just people in general are sitting around consuming stuff, whether it's on their phone, on the television, whatever it may be. Be careful what you put in, because what you put in might eventually become expressed outward. All right, so what do? Negative news, negative information, get rid of it. There's no place for that in your life. All right, keep it positive, keep it uplifting. And I even think you don't even have to consume anything positive. I think if you just remove the negative storylines, headlines, you don't need to know everything that's going on all the time in the world. All right, you get the big picture stuff. I understand. I understand that there's some news going on, but we don't need to know the day-to-day stuff. I was at a guy's house. He's 80-something years old, working with him. The news every 8 minutes, man. Crisis after crisis after crisis. Border crisis. The vice president saying something. COVID, monkeypox, violence somewhere. It's like, Jesus, man. This is what it is. This all happened within. I was there for 35 minutes, and it's all these stories, and I'm just like, whoa, that's heavy, man. I got to get out of here. It was just too much. You don't need to know all that. You don't need to know the day-to-day stuff. You need to know what's going on, big picture, but that's about it, right? To know that there's war in Ukraine, that's a fair thing to know. But to know the death count every day might be a little bit too much. Positive, bring in some positive, right? If you got negative people in your world, I think it's okay to remove them. I think you're gonna be better for it. Lastly, put nothing, some of that other stuff that you like to do. The lyrics, the rap lyrics, right? Back in the day, Eminem, right? He's no Socrates, but he's a smart man, and some of his lyrics hit pretty hard. In The Way I Am, we blame it on Marilyn. He says things like, where were the parents at? That's kind of the next line. We blame it on Marilyn and the heroin, but where were the parents at, right? People were blaming the media for things. Some of these people in the media were blaming the parents. Hey, get involved, this, that, and the other thing. I think this stuff is twofold, right? I think we need to kind of be a little bit more responsible that what gets put out in the media. And it's like, it's not the 15-year-olds that are, playing these violent games anymore. It's starting to get trickled down into younger generations. People use terms like normalization, desensitized to some of these terrible things that go on, right? Try not to expose them to it at a young age, right? And also, try to present good, positive things for them to do. I realize that when we're parenting, it's like, if we have activities going on, there is no questions about, can I sit around, can I watch TV, can I do this, can I do that, right? If we're doing activities, we're up, we're moving, we're going to pony camp, we're going to gymnastics, we're going to soccer, we're going to go hang out with some friends. If we're doing stuff like that, if Emmy's out in the gym with me, man, working, hanging out with the people that are in there, there's no sitting around being idle. So maybe we need to eliminate that idle time. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? Put in the positive stuff. And eliminate the not so good stuff, right? Replace the evil with the good. Peace, everybody. Spotify, Google, Apple, YouTube, Stitcher, Chris Fluke Podcast, man. The website's chrisfluke.net. If you want to get my weekly word, that's a weekly newsletter that comes to your inbox every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Go to chrisfluke.net. There's a tab. It says, we have one heck of a newsletter, which I think we do. Put your email in there, man. We'll get you on the list, and we will send it out to you. I hope you have a great day. Peace, everybody.